Welcome to Power Play India. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.
Hello and welcome, viewers. Welcome to yet another episode. And this is a special episode that we have today. So, in this episode, we are joined by Vinayak Lohani, who is a visionary social entrepreneur and founder of Parivar, which is a transformative non-profit rescuing and educating over 55,000, not 5,500, but 55,000 underprivileged children across India. He is a trailblazing IIT Kharagpur and IIM Calcutta alumni. He rejected corporate success to build one of India's largest free residential education networks. And all the work that has been done, it has of course not gone unnoticed. He recently won the Padma Shri for his exceptional social service award. He has also won several other awards. I don't want to name all of them because it'll just be talking about them this entire show. But the other thing that I'll highlight is that he was the youngest alumni to receive the Distinguished Alumni Award from both IIT Kharagpur and IIM Calcutta. Under his leadership, Parivar's 829 centers provide meals, education, and healthcare to tribal communities, while his residential campuses nurture 3,500 plus children into professionals. He is a beacon of purpose-driven leadership. Vinayak's journey redefines success through compassion and systemic change. So, Vinayak, a very warm welcome to our show.
Yeah, thank you, Arun.
Vinayak, so you became the first IIM Calcutta alumni or student in that time to opt out of the campus placements. So, what was the pivotal moment that made you choose corporate entrepreneurship over corporate success? You could have joined any company for that matter. Why didn't you?
Yeah, actually, there wasn't any one moment. You had seen me in my IIT days, so it was like I was just like any other student, a regular guy, so to say. And I'm just like going a little before the IIM days. So, and from IIT, like everyone else, I sat through the placements and got an offer in Infosys. So I was there for 1 year in Infosys at Bangalore. And there again, just to like more with the idea of, appearing in exams and cracking them, that kind of a spirit which used to be there during those days. Like I also took GRE just for the sake of appearing in exam and seeing what kind of score we get. So with that idea, I appeared in CAT for IIMs. So one thing was that there wasn't any very clear idea or plan for a long-term future, say, in corporate sector that this is what would happen with an MBA degree from IIM. It wasn't like this. So I came to IIM Calcutta from Infosys as a change, you could say. Like 1 year I was doing a job, something of that environment I had seen. And for a change and to explore more, I did not know what will happen there. But in less than a year, somehow I was losing interest increasingly in what path would lie before me after the completion of this degree. So it wasn't that there were therefore two things happening. One was the pull towards humanitarian work, which was happening because I was visiting and volunteering with some small organizations in and around Kolkata, since I was there at that time in IIM campus in Calcutta. So I started a volunteer club, which was perhaps one of the first such things done in IIM Calcutta student history, which was very effective. So lots of people, and it was like decided that no one will write on their CV about this. It was an understanding, which was quite an important thing. So it was not like other clubs where one would claim some credit. So it was an article of faith among all the member volunteers of that it will be done like in a selfless kind of manner. And selflessness in IIM days meant not writing in one CV. So that was itself an example of selflessness. So that ran pretty well actually. So like we organized some medical camps, then visits to schools in rural areas, a few such things with the constraints of obviously like there were no funders, so sometimes pooling and collecting money from within the student community. And with the time constraints also, which like I had a lot of time, but I had to be accompanied by others. I had a lot of time because as I said, I was not much interested in on the academic side, but others had to appear for think of placements and prepare for them. But they also, many of them gave a lot of time. So that encouraged me. One thing was that was a first encouragement, that anything like if done in proper, approached in proper spirit, and which is for others, and done in a selfless, in the sense that where you are not at the center of it, and you are not claiming anything or anything significant out of it, then people rally around you, people support you. That was one thing. I think that was very important, because without doing that, I wouldn't have got this kind of feeling that such a venture, any kind of venture in by venture, I don't mean an organization at the time. Just I was thinking of activities, any kind of action on, say, like which is directed towards uh, ameliorating, say, the suffering to whatever extent possible of like people who are in suffering, whether they are like from very underprivileged classes or whosoever. It could be elderly community, regardless of social class. They are very often in need, or say people with disabilities across social classes. So many different kind of segments can be there. So, like, my conviction that people would support you if you approach it in a spirit of service. And when I'm saying spirit of service, it's definitely it's an expression of selflessness. There cannot be service without some degree of selflessness, because this word service is used so loosely. Like customer service, as we say in corporates or for profit, that is also service. But here, when we are referring to service, it means that it's an expression, a manifestation of some degree of selflessness, that you are thinking beyond your own self. That is the idea, and not for your own personal, personal means in the small sense, personal progress or advancement of your personal career or something like
Yeah.
that.
So
So,
Vinayak, your friends, who accompanied you, and you guys had an underlying agreement that you'll not write in your CV.
yeah, yeah.
And like you said, you had a lot of time, but I'm sure some of your friends wanted
Yeah,
to go and apply in corporate jobs. So didn't they give you a hard time that यार तुमको तो पढ़ाई नहीं करना है, हम लोग को पढ़ाई करना है?
No,
Did you face that kind of
some
situation?
people or the other, it went by rotation, like not in all events or not in all activities, everyone was accompanied. It happened like that somewhere some people were there, somewhere some other. And when I was in year two at that time, so year one juniors were there who had slightly more, bandwidth, in the sense that their placement was in the year two. So some people rallied around, and I had opted out of placement then. In my year two, after a few months only, I opted out of the placement, because I could see that. And one thing also was that I was not very inspired by seeing, when I used to see companies, like representatives of companies coming and making pre-placement talks, which was held very often and very regularly, like almost every day there was a pre-placement talk. So I also like attended a few of them. So they were all very good people. I mean, I'm not questioning that. But somehow, like this feeling that, say, after 15 years or so, do I want to see myself in that position, that role? Do I want to make a person like them, say 15 years later, doing this work? With no disrespect to that work,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
these questions emerged in my mind, like thinking of like these all these competitive kind of things, thinking of business competition, or these were the words which you used to hear, like all this rigor of competition and these kind of things for your company. And so also, like, at that time, by that time, I was beginning to cherish, not develop, but cherish some values which I thought are very important. That came from, I think, like in a variety of sources. They must have been there earlier also, but like maybe from childhood or family influence, or then reading of very great personalities in say Indian history, for example, in freedom struggle, and then particularly reading whatever little. I'm not saying I read very widely at that time, but whatever little of, say, Swami Vivekananda in particular. So I began to cherish some values, like, say, these values which I mentioned, like selflessness, service, thinking, and trying to do something about people who are not as privileged or fortunate or able or competent or meritorious. We often talk so much about merit, so merit itself, the idea of merit itself is so questionable, which we didn't realize at that time. I mean, idea of merit can come only when there is a level playing field. But in this Harvard great academic, Michael Sandel, he came up with this book, The Tyranny of Merit, and this idea. And these lectures are also very popular on YouTube. So this merit itself becomes questionable, and in a country like India where there is so much diversity, socio-economically speaking. So when this thing that we are the cream of the country, sometimes in IIT and IIM days, this thing is pumped into you so much. Sometimes by the institution, sometimes by rest of the society, sometimes by our teachers that we cream of the country, etc. So like this notion actually is a very misplaced notion, I would say. Anyway, that's a separate discussion because.
Yeah, but Vinayak, tell me something. So
So
I followed your.
just complete this. I'll just
Yeah,
complete. So
yeah.
these values, like the set of values which I thought are important, and I thought I would want to develop within myself. So I then thought that a path which enables me to develop these in a in more, you could say, least resistance way, shall we say? That would be that is a path which would be good for me. So I thought that in this, like, in a regular mainstream job, at that time, a corporate job was the only possibility, like after IIM. So I'm talking more about that. So there, I thought that there will be a great dichotomy as far as developing these values is concerned, between the professional life and the personal life. Like, in the sense that it's not necessary at all that if you are more selfless, you will succeed more in a corporate career. Or if you are more service spirited, or if you have high empathy, you will succeed more in your corporate career. It doesn't go like this. There may be a slight correlation, but that correlation is not that strong. Whereas in this field, in field of pure service, rigorous service, which I eventually chose, here there is a high degree of correlation. Like you grow personally in the way you want, like develop these values. And if you have high empathy, then you succeed more in this field. There is a much stronger correlation. If you have high, greater service spirit or greater unselfishness to like whatever extent is possible. There are no limits to unselfishness or selflessness, but there is an alignment actually. What I mean to say. So this actually like resonated a lot with me, that this path will help me to develop these values also, which I now understand. At that time I was thinking that at that time also I understood that these values are some things which have to be my life goals. Like, there may be other life goals also, but these have to be included in that. They can't be excluded. So something which paves way more smoothly, that path I should choose.
Yeah, no, wonderful, Vinayak. So, for my viewers, Vinayak writes extensively about Swami Vivekanand, and I follow his writings for almost 15, 16 years now, while he has been in this for longer than that. And Vinayak has always written a lot about Swami Vivekanand. So, for all those viewers, who don't know much about Swami Vivekanand, you should absolutely go and learn more about him, follow his teachings, his learnings, and you'll be supremely inspired. So, Vinayak, of course, Swami Vivekanand, has a huge influence on what you chose to do. So talk to our viewers a little bit about how you started your this one after graduating from IIM Calcutta. You started with a rented apartment in Calcutta with maybe 3 or 4 children, and then you scaled that up to 5,500. So talk to our viewers about how that scale happened.
This was in 2003. In around February, my batch had graduated, and at that time, this volunteer group was started. That volunteer group was also called Parivar. So I carried the name forward. Actually, I liked the name. So when I registered an organization, which then had nothing to do with the IIM volunteer group, that anyway, I don't think it continued after our batch. And I also did not take much interest because these things then occupied my time. So then I carried on the name Parivar, registered the organization, and this at that time I did not have any idea, very strangely, what exact nature of work I'll be doing. So, but one thing was that I had opted out of the placement, like that. That was itself important. I think you sometimes eliminating things which you do not wish to do. That helps to declutter our mind. Sometimes having a lot of options clutters our mind. Like usually it is thought that keeping many options is helpful, but too many options can be perhaps not a very helpful idea. So since I realized that this is not what I want to do, and Like I had not even thought that later on I can rejoin, but the possibilities are for others. I'm saying that like people say that people used to say to me at that time that I have taken risk, etc. A lot of risk or a lot of courage. I mean, if people armed with such degrees, say like IIT or IIM or whatever, like or comparable degrees, say a high medical degree or high law school degree. If in our country or anywhere like comparable degree, if those people shy away from what is called seem to be or viewed as risk, then who else will do? If armed with such degrees, you feel so, fearful of what will happen to you in future. Then, like, I think it's a very sad thing because you should have much greater confidence armed with such degrees. Okay, that nothing you are not going to die of hunger or you won't come down to the streets just because you have taken a break, say of a year or two. At the worst, it could be seen as a break if things, I mean, I'm not talking about myself, but for others who want to experiment and want to like, suppose like trying, so many people do in commercial space itself, dropping out of their universities and starting. We know so many big companies which have started that way. So like the spirit of, experimenting and exploring, this is very important. And it's not about, one should not think that it's a risk in any way, and particularly armed with such kind of academic degrees. So this did not occur to me at all that it was a risk. And then as I said, I had opted out of placement, but I did not know what I shall be doing. But I was visiting some organizations, as I told you. One or two of them were like in this field, like serving children, street children. Some were running some tutorship programs or after school to coaching programs. One was running some shelter home, for example, for children from red light areas, like girls who otherwise would have been pushed into prostitution. So I got this kind of exposure. So I thought that like one day I thought, what can I do? Like in the social sector also, I was getting overwhelmed actually. Like there is so much expertise needed in many things. For example, say one can do work in environment or in say gender or women empowerment or rural livelihood. So everywhere I used to go, I used to see people who 15 years, 25 years who have worked in this field and are experts. So I asked myself what competency I have in this field. Like I have nothing. So I actually it occurred to me that I should start something which doesn't require competency, in the sense that it doesn't require any grand idea. It doesn't require any intellectual idea. I always say in my earlier similar interactions that I had no big idea. Like it is often thought that for say entrepreneurship, first of all, I do not call myself an entrepreneur. I just refer to myself as a humanitarian worker. But in any kind of organization building, it's not at all necessary. At least in this space, I am seeing it. I'm not sure about other corporate commercial space. Possibly there too. Sometimes we overestimate the importance of a new grand idea. Sometimes the old ideas are good enough, like if you are implementing them properly. So I had no grand idea. I thought that what can I do? I can collect a few service spirited people and start a shelter home and take care of children who are homeless or who are on streets living on railway platforms, begging on trains, or from red light areas who otherwise would be pushed into prostitution, or orphan children. This was, and that would not need, that is just parenting or housewifery, you could say. So I always like in half earnest and half serious, half jokingly, I used to say that we are like doing the work of housewife on a magnified scale. That was the only difference. So no great cerebral idea, what I mean to say. In the beginning, of course, when the organization like builds up, there are a few things you have to think about. But it did not start with. It started with spirit. It started with feeling. So it started with empathy. Empathy was the driving force. Feeling was the driving force. Values were the driving force for building the team. So that we are here to take care of these children the best possible way. So I rented to come to like from where you asked. I began to take coaching classes for IIM students. And IIM student means students appearing for CAT, MBA entrance exam. So I did not take up a job, but just to maintain this flow, some kind of cash flow for this groundwork, which I had to do visit here and there, etc. And to start. So I rented a building. One person I took first, and as a who used to assist me in field work, etc. And then when we started, a few other, 2, 3 other people, just like that. In fact, 2 more persons. And with 3 children, then, as you said, it started. January 7th, our kitchen started, which has, kitchen has been running at some Parivar's institution non-stop, every day and every meal from that day. 21, it's 22nd year now. So in that rented building, then I began continued with this coaching because I was self-funding to a considerable extent. Expenses were much less, but that coaching institute was also, remunerating me. I would say to the good enough to meet needs of say 15, 20, 25 children. So expenses were much less actually at that time. So, and then some friends began to, help. I am Calcutta alumni. I began to write to I am Calcutta alumni. Possibly I wrote to some 1,000 alumni and maybe 25, 30, 35 responded. But I was hugely encouraged. The percentage-wise, one might think it was just 2%, 3%. I was hugely encouraged that even in they are trusting somebody who has just started, and there is no guarantee this organization will go on. People used to question me even 3, 4 years later that will you continue in this or will you, close this down. So I used to feel very offended at that time. Like how can they even ask this? But they had a very reasonable ground for asking this. So people supported, and that again it went into a positive spiral actually. Like that is why sometimes you feel that pieces are falling into place on their own. You begin to realize, like here, this may sound a bit esoteric, but yeah, I mean you think that there is some extra hand which is also helping you in this. When outcomes surpass your own efforts, because before that I had done many things where outcomes were not in proportion to my effort. They were less. I had underperformed. You could in our lives many such things happen. While taking exams, or it could be say participating in some sporting event or cultural event, outcomes can be very disappointing. We expect something, we get much lesser. But here, suddenly I was seeing that outcome is like much more than what I was expecting. New people are supporting, new people, good workers I'm getting, very devoted workforce. Then we could eventually buy land into late 2000, actually early 2005, we started another small campus. That rented building we continued, but there are then construction, then slowly buying more land around that, the newly acquired campus. And it went on till to 2016 in West Bengal. It was already the largest free residential institution in West Bengal in 10 years' time. And by 2016, then I came to MP to explore more things, which I think perhaps your subsequent questions will be about. But this is the thing. So supporters came, lots of individual supporters, because the Companies Act in India, which are the CSR Act, wherein companies, profit-making companies have to give to social causes around 2% of their net profit. That came only in 2014. So first 10 years, and which were the most crucial ones in our case. At that time, there was no CSR provision. Like some companies could do on their own volition, but there was no mandate, compliance mandate for that. So our sources were mainly individual donors. Primarily, it started with IIM alumni, then through their network or word of mouth. It was word of mouth only. And by word of mouth, we mean some printed article somebody read, like that. Which, I mean, no proactive promotional activity on our part, like no advertising in any form. At that time, social media also, you will recall, like in the first decade, it was hardly there. And even before 2014, it was, at least in the circles I moved, it hardly mattered. So all that, it was mainly individual supporters and trust foundations of individuals. Some of them high net worth individuals. But yeah, I mean, but still we got from very humble, modest, service class donations also used to get. But they also felt some kind of inspiration when they visited. People used to visit, quite a few people used to visit. And I think that made a lot of difference. Then, their conviction levels increased. They became our spokespersons. I always, followed this approach. Till now, we follow this approach. We hardly have any, fundraising team. As I always say that we do not raise funds, we only receive funds, which means it's completely reactive rather than proactive. People somehow contact us, connect us, or somebody introduces us to some group or party or individual, and then we take forward the dialogue. But it's not cold calling or cold mailing or or on a sales pitch, that kind. And so our actually, like, whole of this our fund, fund mobilization is actually done by our donors. Our donors are our volunteers for that. And the donors are actually best volunteers for any fundraising, I should say, in this kind of space, because they themselves have invested in it. So they carry a lot of weight when they say to someone else that I am already donating. It carries a lot of conviction and weight to other people. And they are moving, and most importantly, they are moving in donor spaces. Like they are in such professional, say somebody who's working, say, in, say, the Bay Area, for example. Then his circle is that he talk to people in Google, Facebook, Apple, whatever. So his circle is such, like the Silicon Valley circle. So that it will be very inefficient for us to engage someone, say, professionally, and he'll then move around with a PPT trying to visit companies. It doesn't work like that. I mean, it's very low on efficiency. It doesn't work low on efficiency. Donors are the best volunteers as far as fundraising for social causes are concerned.
Yeah.
So in this way,
I
covered till 2016. The Bengal part, yeah.
Yeah. So Vinayak, no, that's actually a pretty good one, because as a researching, I found that you do not have any foreign donors or government institutions, right? It's just exactly the way you described. People are the one, donors are the ones who are become your network, and then that's how it expands.
Yeah, one or two things I'll just clarify. We do have very few, foreign trusts or foreign nationals, and who are of non-Indian origin. We do have a few. But other than that, we have quite a few Indians who are settled abroad. And two primary bases for that are like the United States and Singapore for some reason. I think like we have got a lot of, probably one of our donor spaces is financial services. So Singapore being a financial services hub, quite a few people have got connected from there. Yeah. But these two, but they are mainly Indians. You are right in saying that no foreign agency, funding agency, a few, foreign nationals, but they are friends of some of our Indian supporters. So they have also started to contribute. Yeah.
So Vinayak, so outside of West Bengal, right, you are doing a lot of work most recently in Madhya Pradesh, as you said. So talk to our viewers about some of the challenges that you have faced. See, the outcomes is what everybody sees, right? People see it in the media, people see you talking about, people see all the pictures that you post or the donors post. But talk to viewers about some of the challenges on the ground that you and your team have.
I'll just in a minute, I'll talk about with what idea we ventured in MP and how it evolved. Actually, in 2016, my idea was that at that time we knew only running a residential institution for children. So, but it required a 24/7 team of that region. It was very difficult to bring people from Bengal at that time to start from a scratch. So I was exploring again. Serendipity was at work. Some contacts I developed here and there. Like I was taking again, how things happen. I took in the year 2015, 14, 15, I I offered a course on social sector in IIM Indore in Madhya Pradesh. And here, through that, I developed some contacts, one or two such persons came to meet me who were running some organizations in this area. They came to know that I was here in this area, and they had heard about our organization. And through I went to their areas, they became friends. And in this way, I got an exposure to this field. Field means geographical field here in Madhya Pradesh. So here, like we started with under residential institution, developing a residential takes a lot of time, and building it takes a lot of time. Building means like growing it. So there, like it stuck me at that time that program which we called eventually called a Seva Kutir, which was before school and after school, before government school and after government school education and nutrition program. If we start this in some tribal areas, like how about it? Its outcomes will also be helpful. This I was always convinced. These areas have a very significant malnourishment, and of course there is a huge dropout after grade 8 till grade 8 because of the Right to Education Act in India. Schools are quite close by, like a primary school is in within a couple of miles from every habitat, and middle school, which is like grade 8 till grade 8, it's also say some 6 kilometers or so you will find. But high schools and higher secondary school become very far because the Right to Education Act stops at the age of 14 and at grade 8 level. So after that, it doesn't guarantee a free education. And there is a severe dropout, not just because of distance, but also children are very, very underprepared to appear to sit in grade 8, grade 9, because till grade 8, they are going sometimes like because of midday meal, pull of midday meal which is offered in government school, they are enrolled and they visit. But emphasis is never on quality. So in grade 9, after grade 8, they just drop out, and that is the thing. So we wanted to make children continue and make them grade 9 ready, educationally speaking. And of course, like this malnourishment and other things, like so there is severe, for example, one region where we work in has severe tobacco addiction amongst small children. Children, boys and girls, 5 year onwards in age, they are eating this gutka that which they call pudiya here. This 1 rupee, 2 rupee sachets which you might have seen in small Indian shops. If you go to any Indian village, the most visible saleable commodity is this gutka, which hang in front of the shop. So many things we could do, like getting this de-addiction of these things. So focusing educationally. So Seva Kutir we started. Challenges were, of course, like getting dedicated field force is always a challenge. But once you get that, then things become very quick. I think, like my own orientation has been that I have, I can even say that I have hardly recruited anyone, like recruited in the sense of how the word is understood, say a job with a job role in mind, etc. Like I have always looked for, good people or people with a dedication in this field, and then create a role for them, which is opposite of recruitment. In recruitment, you have a role in mind, then look for people. I took people and then thought what role they can perform. So this is like a real challenge which organizations face, not just ours. I think we have been, that has been our strength, because I think like we have been able to surmount that challenge to considerable extent. This percolation in field is a huge challenge. Then politics, local political, these problems come very often because you are in some way upsetting the apple cart, social apple cart, or the status quo. So somebody's vested interest, very often are disturbed. So those things, those niggles come, which you have to address. These are the actually, but I always thought that these are part of our work. Every work has problem. There is no work which doesn't have a problem. I am sure in commercial space, in corporate sector, there are infinitely, incomparably greater challenges because there is huge competition. We don't have any competition. In social sector, there is nothing like competition. The more you do like people, the more people support you. Nobody wants to go to Alirajpur, which is the lowest literacy district in India, and where there are no roads. So there is no and there won't be any competition in next 25 years or so. So that is not the thing. You have to think only about how to organize your work in a proper way. It's very different, therefore, from competitive scenario kind of running organization in a competitive scenario. So challenges are inward challenges, not more about environment only. As I said, small these local social or political distance which may come. But otherwise, if you have the communities with you, the beneficiary community, if they understand the value of service that you are delivering, then they'll stand in your defense. I'll just give you an example that during COVID times, we were running our Seva Kutis in some area, like after the first 2-3 months. And government schools were closed. So some, journalists maligned us and, said that legal action should be taken, etc. A small time local newspaper in some district. So we just said to the community that look, we will not defend ourselves. We are serving you. If you see value in this service, then you should be our vanguard of defense. So they then some 100-200 people then went to that journalist's house or office. So he got really afraid at that time. And similarly, like it happened with one politician, he had suspended our operations. He was a minister also, actually. I should say this carefully, but he had suspended operation because of some reasons best known to him. So there again we sent our all people, because they were voters of his constituency, and every politician, the only people he dreads is the voters, and the voters in huge numbers. So some 300-400 people went to his local party office. That issue got settled. So if you have the community with you, then what I meant to say is that then that is your best defense for surmounting any kind of challenges. So field percolation, field strength, and support of the local communities in that field. You can't work in isolation. You can't work in a parachute kind of a mode, just like government bureaucracy works, which is very much, very often not integrated with the community. Like they wear their own bureaucratic kind of get-up, in the sense that, that Sahab and Babu kind of a culture. They are not one. They are not seen to be one with the community very often. But here you have to make yourselves one with the community.
That's perfect, because that has lessons even for the corporate world, right? In the corporate world also, you have consumers, you have customers. As long as the customers and consumers align with you, you work for them and you are with them, then the stickiness is there. But Vinayak, I'll come back to one thing that is very interesting that you said. You said that unlike the corporate world where there's a job description and then you hire, in your case you actually just have people come along and then you find out a role for them. So I just want to dive into that. So what kind of skills do you think are completely non-negotiable for somebody who wants to be in the humanitarian space or the social service space? Something that's absolutely non-negotiable.
The social sector actually has such a diverse array of organizations. There are so many kinds of organizations. One could be, say, that are not at the service delivery level themselves, like at the grassroots service delivery. And even they may be like intermediary, like capacity building or consulting organizations, or who are not directly working with the beneficiary class hands-on. Similarly, even if you are working with the beneficiary class, like if you are a service delivery organization, even then you could be an urban organization, city-based, town-based, or you could be a rural organization, or you could be highly interior rural, like say a tribal area. Anywhere, like we have started in Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand also, so in addition to Madhya Pradesh and Bengal. So like in interior areas, so different skills are needed for different kinds. So there is no one thing about, say, for a social sector career or social sector role. Nowadays, there are social sector education institutions creating, developing social sector professionals. So that may be I think as this sector is growing, that may be a necessity. But I think the best people will come who are not thinking of this as a career. At least the leaders I should say. So they'll be those who have, as I said, I come back again to the values of selflessness, spirit of service. Because otherwise, then I see so many people who are working in social sector but keep changing jobs, just like in the corporate sector, from one, say, NGO, one social sector organization to another. So that happens when you are having a career-oriented approach. But this sector also possibly requires, with its size growing, every organization requires some skilled manpower of different kinds. So you talk about skills. So skills in grassroots skills is ability to, interact with, people, understand what they are saying, being able to, I'm talking about our organization, like 80-90% of our people are working at that level, like being prepared to live under difficult circumstances. Like here, one thing is very important. Sacrifice should not only be seen in terms of money. For example, we may be, say, remunerating a person for, I'm just giving you an example. Suppose, say, I'd say 18,000 rupees a month. Possibly, that may be the best financial option for him, possibly, in many cases. But thing is that sacrifice should not be seen only in terms of money. Like while working with us, he is placed in a very difficult, location, or he is not working, looking at his watch that these number of hours I have to put in a day or in a week. So this is all these are sacrifices. People make sacrifices like according to like their own abilities, and we should respect that. Like it's not that somebody who has taken a huge financial cut, he only has done a sacrifice. People in their own ways do sacrifice, make sacrifices, or like being away from family for a long, for extended period. That's a sacrifice. Traveling a lot on work, that's a sacrifice. Without much, financial expectation of financial reward. Otherwise, in corporate sector also people travel. So I'm just in our scenario I'm saying. So this spirit of sacrifice, I think like this all comes to that the selflessness. Everything is abstracted from this higher value of selflessness. All these small things or all the values which we cherish, not just in social sector, universally actually, like empathy, feeling of oneness with others, understanding others' pains or difficulties. So, empathy is a very key virtue. Selflessness is a very key virtue. Most things fall in place if like that is kept before other things. That is a core value, I think, in at least in such an organization which is trying to do service. And there will always be a need of service, even in developed countries, say Scandinavian countries or Switzerland, possibly. There'll always be. It's not just that financially, in financially deprived people or socio-economically deprived. There's say a class of elderly, for example, they become quite helpless after a certain age, or people with say physical, mental disabilities, or say natural calamities come at that time. Need of services there. So need of service will always be there, and need of serving in human beings. That is also like this is very important. Each human being also has a constitutional need to serve, to get fulfillment. So there is sometimes this question comes. I think your time will be over. I'm taking a lot of this
No,
time.
this is very good. This is very good discussion.
So,
Yeah, please.
this I like many times people say that organizations in this sector should become financially sustainable. And what they mean by sustainable is that they should run their own revenue engine, and through that revenue engine, cross-subsidize their service project where they are not charging or undercharging. But I think I have never, I have found this to be a very, very superficial, if not outrightly foolish idea. We are living in an age of specialization. An age of specialization means that every individual or every organization should do what it is best at. That is the social optimal will get created out of that. So social optimum. So if an organization which the core competency of which is to serve say physically disabled people or say vision disabled people, why should it get distracted to some other thing for revenue generation? The society, ideally speaking, the society should ensure that it focuses completely on that. So sustainability actually, like one of our donors only had jokingly said, but it was, and he had said humorously, but there is a great truth behind it. He said that if every organization becomes sustainable, what shall donors like us do? We also have a need to give. We can't go into the field and serve because of various circumstances. But we have say financial resources. What shall we do then in that way? So I think it's a great, you could say a great misunderstanding that there will be dearth of resources or organization should become financially sustainable on their own. Good organizations will never suffer for want of funds. And till the time you are sustainable, one person I know and respect a lot, he said it very clearly that you will be sustainable till the time society sees value in you, or otherwise, like if the society stops seeing value in your perpetuity, whatever you do, that will not work. There are organizations which go on for 1,000 years. Say a religious organization, people dismiss religious organizations saying that, oh, it's a different thing, but that also has to be understood. Why are they going on? Because society sees some value in their perpetuation. Or even say, I think, like if you do a survey, like I'm like this is a guess, but I think educated guess I am making here, that in the 2009-10 the slowdown, or in the West and particularly in the US, I think more corporates folded and closed their shops than NGOs in the US itself. Say like Lehman Brothers crashed, and you know all that. I think Citibank was bailed out because of government support. But NGO, we do not hear of big NGOs or any credible organization to have shut their shop. Where is the sustainability in corporate sector? Tell me. I put this reverse question to them, because people from corporate sector speak so much about sustainability. Where is the sustainability there? So this notion of sustainability, that this is very complicated thing actually. It should not be understood only in terms of financial sustainability. In fact, more important dimension to sustainability are HR sustainability. Having say good teams which shall carry on forward, or say leadership sustainability. And by leadership doesn't mean just one person or anointing another person as a successor. Not that, but group kind of leadership which goes on. Otherwise, that also we have seen fail. What happened to two of the most respected names in India, Tata's and Infosys, when they chose their successors, it didn't work well with all their prowess of selection panels and all that. When it didn't work well, you know that history. Your viewers would know that history. So it doesn't work like some of your best laid plans can go wrong. With all kind of planning.
You're right, Vinayak. I mean, financial sustainability is not the only thing. There are a lot
Yeah.
to sustainability than other things. So,
That's
Vinayak, we go on to the next part of our show, which is the rapid fire round. Okay. So, my first question to you is that who is a role model outside Vivekananda?
outside.
Outside Swami Vivekananda.
Oh, now this has become a difficult question. Actually, do I have to name, with just one person only?
Yeah, you could name a few. You could name a few.
No, a category of people. There are so
Yeah,
many
that's fine too.
selfless people. I would say so many selfless. In my own father had been in government service, in administrative service. I saw him. That was the first immediate influence, you could say. And then I met and come across so many other people who are doing work selflessly, and so many people inspired by Swami Vivekananda. I know of so many people.
Yeah.
Many of them,
Okay.
So there's a whole set of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'll take that. The next one, the one book that shaped your worldview.
No, I think rather than worldview, we keep talking worldview. Sometimes we should think about our own, self-view. Self-view comes first, then only you can begin to see the world properly. And I am not at all claiming that I have got my lens of self-view right. So, and therefore I have not got my lens of worldview also right. But I am sure of one thing, that the lens of worldview will come after you
From
have set
self-view.
your self-view. Self-view, I would say, again, not one book, but reading Swami Vivekananda. Like if you give me half a minute or 1 minute, I'll just like this. His actually philosophy is derived from its age-old philosophy of Vedanta philosophy of ancient India. Like it has been for thousands of years, which actually just says one simple thing, that everything is one. We all are one. There is divine dimension in one in all of us, and there is inherent divinity in all of us, which means we are completely pure, completely divine, and which therefore, and we may question that, how are we divine? We have so many bad things. We know that personally. It only means By this he mean Vedanta means or Vivekananda meant that we are obstructing that flow of positivity. It's already there. We have infinite capacity to be selfless, infinite capacity to be serviceful, infinite capacity to be compassionate, loving, caring. All the virtues which we hold generally to be good and great, we have infinite capacities of developing them. We should not think that I can be selfless only to this limit. After that, I can't be. That's a mental block. That's an artificial block. And Swami Vivekananda was very strong on that. That these are artificial blocks which are preventing us. That is like we have infinite capacity. We are like he used to say that there is nothing but God. So all of this, whatever we are seeing, this manifested world, this is God. So in serving others, we are actually like serving ourselves only, because there is nothing like others. It's our extended self. We think ourselves to this small body-mind complex. Therefore, we are limiting ourselves. There is no other. It's me only. It's our extended self. Now, in philosophical terms, this sounds very, lofty. But I think it resonated with me at an intellectual level. At an intellectual level, I found no problems with that. Before that, I had read a few, books which are considered to be in fashion. Says like, you remember an author called Ayn Rand with Fountainhead and all that. So at that time, I heard, oh, there is a grand philosophy in that, grand life philosophy. But when I came to Vivekananda, I found everything to be so superficial before that. And by Vivekananda, I should again repeat, it's a channel to age-old philosophy of Vedanta. He presented it in a modern day idiom and to modern day necessities, I should say. Yeah.
No, super. My next question to you is, there are students who are torn between corporate careers and social impact, right? What would your advice be to them?
No, I would here one cannot advise everything. The world needs everything. We won't be able to work. Organization like ours will not be able to work if somebody doesn't provide funds for us. As I said, in this age of specialization, everyone should do what they are best at. So if one is great at, say, creating a software program, computer program, you should by all means do that. But here comes one thing, that this at the backdrop of this, one should remember this higher thing, that I am a part of this, or I am one with this entire thing. This, at least some idea should be there. Here I'll just talk of one, very great person. His name was Swami Ranganathanand, belonging to the Ramakrishna order. He was president of the Ramakrishna order at that time, now no longer there. I mean, not there now in this world. So he said, once he was asked that, what is attitude of service? What is seva bhav? Can you define? We keep hearing of seva bhav all the time. He very simply answered in very simple terms. He said it is always keeping this question at the backdrop of all interpersonal transactions, interpersonal interactions, that what can I do for you? This question. So if this question is there, like all your interactions, all your relationships are governed by this question, with the backdrop of this question, what can I do for you? If you are running a company, of course your immediate goal would be to make profits, otherwise it will close down. That is the nature of the field you are in. But the backdrop has to be this, that after this, why am I doing this? What can I do for others? What can I do for those? Like even our intelligence, like we are standing, like this is an oft heard about thing. Numerous times we have heard that we are standing on shoulders of giants. Even the language that we are speaking, we did not invent. In any language for that matter, thousands of years took to create a human language. Forget about scientific inventions and all that. Most basic thing like a language. So whatever we are using has been, inherited. So even this intelligence or any kind of things we think we own, like say beauty, for example, good looks, beauty. In younger age, actually, all these things also matter. So that's why I'm saying people are preoccupied many times with these notions. So I'm just mentioning them. These are all like what is your contribution in that? These are all nature has given you, or you may say God has given you. Even intelligence is given by nature. Somebody else doesn't have that faculty. So if you are like getting a very high JE rank, of course you put that labor of that hard work, but the intelligence part was given to you, endowed to you. So we should always remember that it's not that we have done every achievement that we have got has been only because of our merit or our hard work, our enterprise. There are so many factors, right from accident of birth, for example, being born in a certain family, having certain opportunities or privileges, and having that intelligence, etc. So, to come to your question, this it should, and if naturally one feels that it's for social. One thing I should say that for social impact, one doesn't need to start or work in social sector organizations. It's an attitude. Service is an attitude. As I said, what can I do for you? This attitude. So this anyone can have at any time, irrespective of location or time. Anyone working in say a corporate sector in Canada can have fields in farms in Australia can have or Africa can have. It doesn't matter. So one doesn't need to start a social sector organization or join a social sector organization to have this attitude of service or to engage to be serviceful actually. It's an attitude you carry to. So as far as making a choice is concerned, then sometimes it naturally comes to you. Then circumstances also are there. I have known people who are really like who do not want to really like it. It's again their nature to work in corporate sector. They say this, but because of circumstances, they cannot leave. So sometimes we are also like driven so much by the circumstances. So, but it's not that they are not serviceful. They are trying in other way. They have found other ways of service. That's what I said. Anyone and everyone can be serviceful, regardless of the station of life they are in.
No, wonderful, Vinayak. And my last question on the show for you is: will you join politics sometime?
No, not at all.
Okay, all right. So Vinayak, thank you so much.
If you need a slight elaboration on this, 1 or 2 minutes again I'll take.
Yeah.
No, look. One thing is that this again is a misconception. That through politics one can do a lot. It's a misconception. There are important positions in politics where one can possibly do. Like say somebody has become prime minister, somebody has become minister, somebody has become member of parliament. But chances of that, do we assess the chances? It's like thinking of beginning to play cricket, planning to become a Sachin Tendulkar or Virat Kohli. One doesn't enter politics thinking that I'll become the prime minister of the country or a member of parliament. And then you have to be in government. I heard Shashi Tharoor some days back, and he was saying that one gets frustrated just because of sitting in the opposition, and in his own state of Kerala also his party is not in power. So many things which he wants to do he cannot do. So these things happen. So, and most importantly, it's the nature of people. You have to have a different nature for that. I do not have that nature. For example, one thing that in politics you have to meet all sorts of people, and all sorts means all sorts. A lot of kusang therefore. Kusang also comes, bad come. You can't avoid. They are your voters or your party colleagues. So, and here we talk of satsang, like in a spiritually oriented life, which I'm not saying at all that I'm leading, but at least like it's my wish to align myself. So imperfectly, I try to align myself to that. Here we talk of satsang, which is opposite of a lot of kusang that you get in politics. And thirdly, it just came to my mind. But yeah, these are very important things. This kusang satsang itself. I've one or two things came in my heart. This slipped anyway. Yeah.
But nevertheless, Vinayak, it's such a pleasure. This show we could go on and on, but we have time constraints, so we have to end the show here. But this was such an insightful session for you and such an inspiring session for me, and I'm sure for a lot of viewers. And for viewers, what we'll do is at the bottom of the show, the description, you will see other ways that you can help and contribute towards Parivar and Vinayak and his organization. So with that, thank you so much, Vinayak.
Thank you. Thank you for
really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to Power Play India. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content.